I've created an empty project called Firebase Movie Reviews. And we're going to use a cloud database called Firebase that's owned by Google, and therefore it's built into Android Studio and makes using data in the cloud very simple, both reading and writing. Under the Tools menu, you may have noticed there's a Firebase option, and I'm going to click Firebase. It's going to bring up the Firebase Assistant, and you can see there's a whole lot of stuff available to us in Firebase. We're going to use the Cloud Firestore. Another popular choice is the real-time database. The Cloud Firestore and the real-time database are NoSQL databases, meaning they don't support SQL commands. Rather, unlike the traditional database where we have records and fields, the Cloud Firestore uses documents that have key value pairs, and we can search through those documents. So I'm going to open up Cloud Firestore, and there's an option here for getting started with Cloud Firestore, but another one getting started with Kotlin. So we're going to choose the Kotlin option. And the first thing we're going to do is connect our app to the Firebase. And I get an error here saying could not parse the Android application modules Gradle config, resolve Gradle build issues, and or resync. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to open up the build.gradle for the project, and there's this item here currently in version 4.1 or 4.2 of Android Studio. This is JCenter, and there's a warning this repository is going to shut down soon. I believe that's the problem that's causing the issue connecting to Firebase, so I'm just going to comment that out, and then I'm going to resync my Gradle script. And then I'm going to click the Connect to Firebase again. So it says here your application needs to be built before connecting to Firebase. I'm going to go ahead and click Build. I'm watching the bottom status bar, and it says down here that the grade build is running, so still going through the process. And this says grade build finished. So once again, I'm going to click Connect to Firebase, and that will take us to the Firebase website. This takes me to my console. I already have an account. So if you don't have an account, you may have to create one. So I'm going to click Add Project. And I need to give my project a name. So I click on Project. It gives me my current name of Firebase Movie Reviews. I'm going to click this unique identifier from my project and just say Save. So I need to select a parent resource here because my account goes through maricopa.edu. I'm going to select that, click Done, and then I can click Continue. So once to add Google Analytics, I'm going to disable Google Analytics for this project, for this test purposes. I don't really need that. And we'll say Create Project. So now it's creating my project. I'm told my new project is ready. I'm going to click Continue. I want to connect the Firebase Android app to my Android Studio project. I'm going to click Connect, and now the connection is done. Okay, so we've done the connection. So now I'm back in Android Studio. We've completed the connection. I want to add Cloud Firestore to my app, so I'm going to click the Add button here and say Accept the changes. It's going to add that to our Gradle. It also resyncs. The third step is to initialize the Cloud Firestore. So I'm going to select this line of code. This is val_db equals firebase.firestore. And I'm going to go to my main activity. I'm going to add that in to my class level variables. And then I need to come over to Firebase and import it. I also need to import Firestore. So I'm going to go back to our assistant here for Firebase, and the next step is to add data. So we're told that Cloud Firestore stores data in documents which are stored in collections. So we need to create a collection and then have it access those documents. And we can do that here from our app, have it create the collection, and then add documents. What I'm going to do instead is go back to Firebase in my browser. I'm going to go to my console. I'm going to click on Firebase Movie Reviews. So if you wanted to have users for your database, you could set up authentication. I'm not going to bother to do that. On the left-hand side, I'm going to choose Firestore Database, and then click the Create Database. And we have two choices here, production mode and test mode. The production mode is private. The test mode allows you to have others access your project, but it limits it to 30 days for testing. I want to do test mode. And so the default security rules are to allow anyone with your database references to the views. This will allow then for Christopher and I to be able to access your project and to be able to grade it. If you do the production mode, it will only be accessible to you, or as you make changes to who has access to it. So I'm going to choose test mode. I'm going to click next. Choose a location where your data is going to be stored. I chose US West 3 earlier, so that's coming up. I'm just going to click enable. And we're now ready to start a collection. So I need to give my collection an ID. I'm just going to call it Movie Reviews. And then I can give it documents. So we're going to do our first document. I'm going to click Auto ID just to generate a random Auto ID. My first field for my movie review is going to be title. And I'm going to give it a string value of Silverado. Then I'm going to add another field. And this field is going to be genre. The value is going to be Western. We'll add another field. This one's going to be rating. PG-13. Fourth field is going to be review. I'm going to paste in a review that I wrote earlier. It's kind of lengthy. And I'm going to add one more field, and that's going to be reviewer. And I'll put my name. I'm going to click Save. So there is my first document in my collection called Movie Reviews. And you can see the key value pairs here of genre, rating, review, reviewer, and title. I'm going to add another document. Again, I'll click the Auto ID. I'm going to use the same fields. Now the fields do not have to match from document to document, but we want to be consistent. We're going to gather this data, and so we want the same fields in each of our documents. So this one's going to be stand and deliver. My genre is going to be drama. Rating is PG. Want the review. So again, I'll paste in my review. Add a field for reviewer. And again, my name. And I'll save that document. So we can now see the two different documents in here, one Western, one drama. Let me add another document. Reviewer here will be Nathan R. Jessup. And we'll save that. So now we have three documents. I'm going to go back to Android Studio. Before I create the code to read our data, I'm going to come over to my project, and we're going to add a Kotlin class file. This will be a data class, and I'm going to call it Movie Review. And I'm going to add the data that I want to have being displayed in the Movie Review. So I'm going to have the same fields that we had in our database: title, genre, rating, review, and reviewer. These are all string values. I'm going to go into Resources, go to Layout. We're going to add a new layout. And I'm just going to call this one card underscore items. It's going to be an XML file. My root element, rather than being a constraint view, will be a card view. Going to click OK. And I'm going to build out that XML. I'm just going to zoom ahead here in the video. So here then is my card view. Contains a linear layout with a text view at the top for the title, and then a horizontal linear layout for the genre and rating text views. Another text view back to my main linear layout for the review, and another one for the reviewer. Here is the code that I used. So again, we can see we used a card view, the settings for the card view, the linear layout containing the text view, then a horizontal linear layout containing the two text views for genre and rating, and then the text view for card review and one for card reviewer. So you can pause the video and enter the code as I have it here. Next, we're going to go into our activity main, and we're going to basically get rid of the hello world. We have a constraint layout here, and again I'm going to pause the video and show you the result of creating this XML. So here is my layout. I've got a text view at the top and a button, and right now I've got some strings I'm going to enter into the strings. So we'll use our string resources. So one will be named header, one's going to be named add. But then I also added a RecyclerView. And in the code for the RecyclerView, for the list item, I currently have the tools list item set to at layout card item. That's the card XML we just created. So there you can see the text for the button and the text for the text view. We need to add in those strings, and I will do that next. So we'll go to the strings XML. I'm going to paste in the strings that I created earlier in a Word document, and you'll see we have our add string that we're using and our header that we're using. Let's go back to our XML file. Those are no longer red. Let's look at the design, and now we have our title of Watchworthy, and our button now says Add Movie. So you can see how it's going to bring the data in and create cards for each of the reviews that are in our Firebase database, and we'll be able to scroll through those, and then we're going to set up so we can click one of them and get the full review. We're only going to show the first 100 characters on each review, on each of these cards in the RecyclerView, but we click on it, we'll have a dialog come up that shows the full review. We'll create an XML layout to add in the movie. Let's go back to our main activity file, and now we want to add the code to access our database and populate our RecyclerView with the data that's read in. Now again, I can go to the assistant. So I mentioned earlier I could copy this code in, but in reality this is for adding data. We want to read the data first. So here is the code, and I can copy that and paste it and then make some modifications to it. And that should be a db.collection. So again, I'm going to pause the video here and then show you the results of my modifications. So I first added a reference variable to my RecyclerView, which is null. I call it RV Movies, and then I have to find that view by ID. I had named my RecyclerView RV Movies, and then we're going to call the adapter. Now we didn't create the adapter yet, so that's in red. That'll be our next step. We're going to pass it movies, which is going to be our collection of movies, and this is the context of our activity. And then the layout manager is a linear layout manager with the context of this. And then here then is my method to access our collection called Movie Reviews. We've already got our connection to Firebase. We're going to call up that collection called Movie Reviews. We're going to get the data. And if that's successful, we are going to populate movies. Now I did a little log here to also show the title of each movie that comes in, so I could make sure that all the movies were coming in. We can look at that. That's just going into our info in Logcat. So we're adding a movie review each time through with the data from each document, getting the title, genre, rating, review, and reviewer. I'm going to sort the movies by title, and it is going to be the context of my movie review data class. We're going to tell Android that the data set has changed, and I'm just going to show a snack bar of how many movies were brought in. We still have to create the recycler adapter as a class, but before I do that, I'm just going to comment out the rvmovies.adapter reference to it, and then I can test to see if it's actually pulling in the data. And remember, we have our log here to show the title, and I also have a little snack bar down here that I put in just to show how many records are read in. So I'm going to test this in the emulator. Launch succeeded. And it says 0 records were read from the cloud database. It didn't read anything in. And this should have worked. The problem, I think, is in my collection. I'm not sure I named it Movie Reviews. So I'm going to go back and double check. So I'm back in Firestore. And it's Movie Reviews, but there's a space. And I probably should design this without a space, but it'll be okay. I'm going to go back to Android Studio, and let's just put a space between movie and reviews, and I'm going to run this again. And now it's told it read 3 records from our cloud database, which there were 3 records we put in there: A Few Good Men, Silverado, and Stand and Deliver. So I'm going to bring up the Logcat. And I want to go to the emulator I'm running, which is the API 9.8. My project is the Firebase Movie Review. Instead of verbose, I just want the info, and I'm going to search for the word title. And there we see our Few Good Men, Silverado, Stand and Deliver that it brought in and displayed those based on our log command here. So it's reading in the data. We know that works. Now we need to populate our RecyclerView to show the cards. I'm going to end my emulator. And let's create a new class. This will be a Kotlin class. And we're going to call it, just as we put up here, Recycler Adapter. This is very similar to the process we went through in Horton's book with the Notes to Self project. So I'll press the Enter key. There is our recycler adapter. So again, I'm going to pause the video here, write my code, and show you the result. So my recycler adapter is going to take a value of movie list, which is a list of type movie review. We're going to feed it that movies list that we created in the activity main. I need to create a listener. I just called mine SFH listener, SFH being my initials. You can name anything you like. It's a recycler view click listener. This will allow us to accept a click on any of the cards in our recycler view. Let me get rid of my emulator so you can see the rest. And it's going to return a RecyclerView.adapter of type RecyclerAdapter.movieHolder. And that movie holder is the inner class that I wrote in this class. So we had to incorporate a couple methods here. One was the interface of RecyclerView click listener. And we could name that anything we wanted. I called it on RecyclerView item click. And I could have named the interface anything I wanted. Our onCreateView holder is going to return a type movie holder, which is the inner class that is down here. So here's our inner class, and we have references to the different text views on that card view. So I have references to TV card title, TV card genre, and I'm finding those IDs. So I had named those IDs back in the code, and if you just copied the code, you probably got those. If you didn't, you might need to go back and change the names of each of those fields to be TV for text view, TV card, and then we had title, genre, rating, review, and reviewer. There's an init method here that is setting up the on-click listener for our movie holder, and then we're overriding a function of on-click, which is getting the current position or integer index of the item we clicked in the RecyclerView or in the adapter. Finishing this out, there's a method here for onBindViewHolder, and again I'm creating some references to those card text views, getting the text. And I also added a little conditional here that just takes the first 100 characters of our review. That's all we're going to show in the card view. Some of the views could be really long, and so we just want to keep each card view about the same size by limiting how much of the review is being shown. We can click the card to get the full review. And there's also, we have to override the get item count, so that we're getting the size of our movie list parameter, which is going to be our movies database, or movies list from the main activity file that's passed to it. And then I also just did a little log here of the item count, just make sure that was working. You could comment that out once we see that everything works. Okay, so that is our recycler adapter. Again, you can pause the video here and enter this code. I'm going to go back now to the main activity, Kotlin file, and let's get rid of our comment for the recycler adapter. And because we've added in a click listener, we need to change our class main activity to incorporate that interface. So I'm going to go back to my recycler adapter. I want to get my interface, come back to main activity. So I'm going to add a comma. Our adapter was named Recycler Adapter. I'm going to do a dot, and then I want the RecyclerView click listener, or I could paste in what I just copied over there. Both are going to be the same. And now that little squiggly for the context of the SFH listener has gone away. In fact, it changed context to SFH listener, grabbing the parameter from our recycler adapter, and the context of this now is acceptable. So I now have a squiggly under main activity, and that's because I need to incorporate the methods that are inherited from the view click listener. I can just come over here and say implement members, and so I need an on recycler view item click. I'm just going to say OK. And for now, we'll come back and code that. I'm just going to comment out the to do for now, and let's test this and see if we get our data to show up in the RecyclerView. And there then is our data. And I've got something out of order here because it's putting the review where the rating should have gone and the rating where the review should have gone. I'm going to stop my emulator for now. And so I got these out of order here. I have title, genre, review, rating, reviewer. I'm going to modify that. So it's the order of my data class as I'm passing items in. I'm just going to run this again. I get my snack bar of 3 records, and there are my cards that look much better now with the title, the genre, the rating, the 100 characters of the review, and then the reviewer. Right now if we click, nothing happens. That's the next step, and we'll pick this up in the next video. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Android App Development Cohort playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos that I create, you can click my picture up in the top right and subscribe to the channel.